Hey everyone, and welcome to our deep dive today.
Yeah,
We're going to be looking at All the Colors of the Dark
by Chris Whitaker.
by Chris Whitaker, that's right.
Yeah.
And we're going to try and make you want to read it without giving away any spoilers.
Exactly. We want to pique your curiosity, get you intrigued.
Yeah, just talk about what makes it so cool.
Yeah, explore some of the themes and the characters.
Yeah, so one of the things that really struck me when I first started reading it was the structure.
Hmm.
It's told in two different timelines, 1995 and 1998.
Okay.
And it kind of jumps back and forth between the two.
Yeah.
What did you think about that? What's the effect of that?
Well, I think it definitely creates a lot of suspense, right?
Yeah.
Because you're constantly, you get a little snippet of 1995, then you're in 1998, and you're trying to figure out how they connect. How does this earlier timeline relate to what's happening later? And you don't get the answers right away. He spaces it out in a way that really keeps you guessing and engaged. It's kind of like each of those chapters, whether there's the break or the prisoner, is like a puzzle piece, and you're just trying to figure out how they all fit together.
Yeah. And even the chapter titles themselves, right? Like The Break, The Prisoner.
Right.
Already you know something intense is going on.
Absolutely, like something significant happened. Yeah, there's like a fracture in time that you have to figure out.
So let's talk about our main character, Patch McCauley.
Okay.
We meet him as a young boy, and it's really clear that his childhood is anything but stable.
Right.
He and his mom, Ivy, they're always on the move. They're living in one rundown rental after another.
Yeah.
What did you think about, what did you feel for Patch? What was that like reading about his childhood?
I felt a lot of sympathy for Patch
Yeah.
because, he's constantly uprooted. He's never able to put down roots, feel a sense of belonging. And I think you see how that kind of instability affects him, right?
Yeah.
Makes him wary of forming attachments, wary of getting close to people because, what's the point if he's just going to have to move again?
And you kind of wonder, how can someone build a stable life when they've never experienced it themselves?
Exactly.
There's this line that really stuck with me where Ivy talks about how accepting their current situation would be the greatest sin.
Hmm.
And it just shows how desperate she is to find something better for Patch, even if it means, constantly chasing after that elusive dream.
Right. And that desperation, that relentless pursuit of a better life, I think it really drives the story forward, right?
Yeah.
It's almost as if they're running from something, even if they don't fully realize it themselves.
And then there's this detail that jumps out at you early on. Patch is missing an eye.
Yeah.
It's mentioned so casually, but you immediately know it's significant.
Oh, absolutely. And I think Whitaker keeps circling back to that missing eye, weaving it into descriptions of the woods and this one clearing by an old railroad.
Yeah.
It's like a shadow hanging over his life.
Like something happened in those woods.
Yeah.
Something that left a physical and emotional scar on him.
Yeah.
It makes you just want to know what went down.
Right, and he kind of scatters these little hints, too, like wolf scat, a fossilized nightmare. It just makes the mystery even more intriguing.
So we have Patch, haunted by this past.
Yeah.
And then we meet this girl, Saint.
Yeah.
And she's like fiercely independent and becomes almost like a protector for Patch.
Yeah.
What stood out to you about her?
I thought she was a really, really interesting character, just so tough on the outside.
Yeah.
But you could tell she was carrying a lot of weight on her shoulders. And I love that she has this almost otherworldly connection to the woods.
Yeah.
Like with her beekeeping and just her knowledge of the land, she just seems very, very connected to that space.
There's this one passage where she's described as a poor girl
Mm-hmm.
who looked to books for answers to questions that would never be asked of her.
Mm.
And it makes you realize there's a whole inner world, we're just beginning to glimpse.
Exactly. And I think that line also kind of hints at, like, the social dynamics at play, right? The
Yeah.
assumptions people make about her based on her circumstances.
Yeah.
And it makes you think about how easily we overlook, someone's depth and complexity.
And then we see her react to a really traumatic event involving Patch.
Right.
And she's incredibly stoic.
Mm.
But then there's this moment in a church, and the priest is talking about God, and she's just thinking to herself, why the fuck not?
Yeah.
And it's such a small line, but it reveals so much about what she's going through.
Yeah. That's a powerful line because it shows her grappling with faith, with doubt,
Yeah.
especially in the face of suffering.
Right.
And, makes you wonder, what kind of justice is she seeking?
Okay, so we've got Patch with this mysterious past, this tough-as-nails girl with this hidden depth.
Yeah.
But then there's another character, Grace, and she's shrouded in even more mystery.
Yes. Grace, we just hear about her, right, through these fragmented memories, like glimpses of her artistic talent, and then this recurring phrase, oceanoffpdf.com. It's almost like she exists in this, like, digital ghost world,
Right.
and we're left to piece together who she is and how she connects to Patch and Saint.
And there's this lingering question. Is she even real?
Right.
Or is she a figment of Patch's imagination?
And that's the brilliance of Whitaker's writing, right? He keeps you guessing, blurring those lines
Yeah.
between reality and imagination, and you start questioning everything. Everything you think you know.
It's like he's inviting you to become a detective alongside the characters.
Yeah.
Trying to piece together the clues and trying to solve this puzzle.
Exactly. You're not just passively reading the story, you're actively engaged in uncovering the truth.
Well, I don't know about you, but I am hooked. We've only scratched the surface of all the colors of the dark.
Yeah.
But it's already clear that this book is so much more than just a mystery.
It's a story about friendship, memory, trauma, and the search for hope in the darkest of places. And trust me, you're going to want to see how it all unfolds. It's like the woods themselves are almost like a character in this story, like not just a setting, but like a presence.
Yeah, it was where Patch and Saint spend most of their time, right? Like exploring, playing, kind of escaping their reality.
Exactly.
But it's also this place of like shadows and secrets and this lingering sense of danger.
Yeah, like remember that passage like about the tire tracks in the mud, and Saint describes it as like a fossilized nightmare.
Right.
And it's just like whatever happened there, whatever left Patch with that missing eye, it's imprinted on like the landscape.
Gives you chills, like just thinking about it. And then the wolf scat, the old railroad tracks, like
all those little details.
Yeah.
It just adds to that feeling of unease.
Yeah. You know something bad happened there, but you're not sure what.
And then Grace is also connected to this oceanoffpdf.com, this phrase.
Right.
And we're still not entirely sure what that refers to, but
it adds another layer.
It adds another layer of intrigue for sure.
Yeah, it's like she exists in this separate world almost, like this digital realm that intersects with the physical world of Patch and Saint.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, like, what is that connection?
Yeah.
Was it a source of comfort for Grace, a way to escape her own reality? Or could it be something more sinister?
And then how does that play into, like, the more traditional setting of Montclair, the small town in Missouri? Like, you have this rural landscape and this hidden online world.
It's an interesting juxtaposition.
Yeah.
But I think Whitaker's kind of exploring this idea that even in the most remote places, we're all connected in some way, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes that digital world can be just as real, just as impactful as the physical world.
Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of connections, I'm curious about Patch and Saint's relationship.
Yeah.
Because they seem to understand each other in a way that other people don't.
Yeah, they definitely have a special bond.
Yeah.
You know, they're both outsiders in their own way.
Yeah.
Grappling with their own demons.
Right.
And in each other, they find a sense of belonging, you know?
Yeah.
A refuge from the harsh realities of their lives.
There's that scene where Saint is reflecting on, like, the differences between perception and reality. And she says, when most look at her, they saw a poor girl. A girl who looked to books for answers to questions that would never be asked of her.
Right.
It just highlights, like, how underestimated people are.
Yeah. That line is so poignant.
Yeah.
You know, it speaks to her resilience, her intelligence, and the way she's navigating a world that often dismisses her.
Yeah, and we see that strength in the way she handles, like, that traumatic event with Patch.
Right.
You know, she doesn't, like, fall apart. She becomes even more determined to, like, protect him, to find some kind of justice.
And remember that scene in the church? Like, when she thinks, why the fuck not?
Yeah.
In response to, you know, the priest saying God isn't vengeful.
It just shows you how deeply she feels that, like, need for retribution.
Right.
Even if he doesn't know what form it will take.
Right. Yeah. It's such a raw and honest moment.
Yeah.
Like, you can feel the conflict within her.
Yeah.
That struggle between, you know, faith and doubt and love and anger.
Right.
And it really makes you wonder, like, what lengths will she go to for the people she cares about?
Yeah, like, what is she capable of?
Right.
Yeah, that's a question that looms large over the whole book.
Throughout the book, yeah.
And it's one of the things that makes it so compelling.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't, like, shy away from difficult emotions.
It embraces them.
Yeah.
Explores them and forces you to, like, confront your own capacity for darkness and light.
Yeah, it's a reminder that even Like, the most seemingly simple characters
Right.
can have all these hidden depths and complexities.
Absolutely. And as we peel back those layers, I think we begin to see how, like, the past, the present, the future, they're all intertwined
Yeah.
in ways that we couldn't have imagined.
Like he's saying, we're all shaped by our experiences,
Right.
both the beautiful and the brutal.
Exactly.
And those experiences stay with us.
Yeah.
They influence our choices, our relationships, our perception of the world even.
And that's what makes the book so thought-provoking.
Yeah.
It's not just a page-turner, it's
Yeah.
an exploration of, like, the human condition,
Yeah.
the resilience of the human spirit,
Hmm.
and the enduring power of hope, even in the face of darkness.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground, but there's still so much to uncover.
Oh, yeah.
We barely touched on, like, the recurring imagery of birds,
Yes.
especially owls,
Yeah.
the significance of saints' beekeeping.
Right.
Like, those are all things.
Yeah, and, like, the sensory details, like, he creates this incredibly vivid atmosphere. Like, you can practically smell the woods, feel that Missouri heat, hear the music that they're listening to. It's like you're right there with them,
Yeah, so well done.
experiencing everything firsthand.
It's masterful, like, storytelling.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, what other secrets are hidden?
Right.
What other twists and turns await?
Well, we don't want to spoil all the fun. The best way to, experience the full impact of All the Colors of the Dark is to, dive in yourself.
Yeah.
Let the story unfold.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. But before you do that, we have
Yeah.
a few more candle-icing tidbits to share
In our final part.
in our final part. So stay with us. We're about to delve even deeper into the world of All the Colors of the Dark. We're back, and I feel like we've talked about, like, all these different elements of All the Colors of the Dark, the characters, the mysterious woods, this, like, digital ghost world. But there's one more I kind of want to touch on,
Okay.
which is art,
Ah, yeah.
because it plays such a crucial role
It does.
in this story, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not just a hobby.
Right.
It's a way for the characters to, like, process their emotions, connect with each other,
Right.
escape their reality even.
It's like the secret language they share.
Yeah,
Especially when it comes to Patch and Grace. Like, we know she was an artist.
right.
And there are all these fascinating parallels between, like, her work and what Patch starts creating.
Yeah, it's almost like he's channeling her
Yeah.
through his art,
Mm-hmm.
like trying to understand her, maybe even communicate with her in a way.
Across time and space.
Yeah, yeah, and there's that one scene where Patch is, like, learning to paint. And he says, "I see what others don't." And it's like art gives him this different way of seeing the world,
Yeah.
way to tap into something deeper.
Absolutely. And remember, like, how his paintings start incorporating elements from Grace's stories?
Yeah.
Like the recurring image of, like, the big white house. It's as if he's, like, piecing together this puzzle,
Yeah.
using his art to uncover, like, these fragments of her life.
And it's not just Patch. Like, art seems to be a refuge for several characters in the book.
Yeah, and there's all these references to, like, famous painters,
Yeah.
like Franz Hals, Paul Gauguin, and you get the sense that Whitaker himself is, like,
Yeah.
deeply engaged with the power of art.
Well, he definitely uses it to, like, enrich the storytelling.
Absolutely. It adds all these layers of meaning,
Yeah.
symbolism, emotional depth, and it makes you think about how art can help us make sense of the world, especially when words fail us.
So we talked about trauma, memory, friendship. What other, like, big ideas does Whitaker explore in this book?
Well, I think one of the big ones is, the cyclical nature of poverty. Like Patch and Ivy's constant struggle for stability. It's something that I think resonates with a lot of people's experiences, right? And it kind of raises these questions about, like, social mobility, access to opportunities, the challenges of breaking free from those cycles.
And this idea that the past is never truly past.
Right.
Like, it shapes who we are, it influences our choices, it can even haunt us in ways we don't
Right.
expect.
Yeah, the book really makes you think about, like, how we grapple with those ghosts.
Yeah.
How we make peace with our own histories.
And the complexities of justice and forgiveness, right? Like Saint's desire for vengeance,
Right.
her struggle with faith. Like, it's something that I think a lot of readers, especially those who have experienced loss or trauma, will really connect with.
It's a book that stays with you.
It really does.
It's emotionally resonant, it's beautifully written, and it's just packed with, like, thought-provoking themes.
So if you're looking for a book that will, like, stay with you long after you turn that final page,
Hmm.
a book that will make you think, make you feel, make you question everything.
All the Colors of the Dark is definitely worth adding to your reading list.
Couldn't agree more. We've just scratched the surface here,
Yeah.
giving you a little taste of what makes this book so captivating.
Hmm.
Now it's your turn to dive in.
Yeah. Go discover those secrets hidden within its pages.
Happy reading, and keep an eye out for those owls.
Yes.
They might just hold the key to unraveling the mystery.